Well, we look at how global markets have done over the last 12 hours or so. US markets were lower in trade to start the week, of course, on Monday, and that was largely due to two reasons. One is the Russia-Ukraine tensions, which have continued to escalate over the weekend, and that has also obviously impacted oil prices as well. And the second is comments by Fed presidents over the need for fighting inflation, which has also led to some presidents alluding to the fact that the acceleration in interest rates needs to be faster. The Dow and the S&P were down by over 1% at its lowest point in trade on Monday, with the Nasdaq also down 0.9% at its lowest point. And though the Dow closed around 0.5% lower, the S&P 500 too was down around 0.4%, and the Nasdaq closed just below that flat line. So absolutely flat on the Nasdaq in trade on Monday. When we look at though how earnings have turned out, well, earnings have turned out well in the December quarter, with now over 70% of companies in the S&P 500 having disclosed their December quarter numbers, and of which 77% have beaten analyst expectations and have clocked earnings growth of 30% or so. So strong set of numbers from a results perspective. Moving quickly on to Europe. Europe also closed lower in trade yesterday. Well, the DAX and the CAC were down over 2% each. In fact, the FTSE and the Stock 600 were also down nearly 2%. Stock 600 down 1.83%, as well as the FTSE down 1.7% in trade yesterday. Well, not a pretty sight in Asia yesterday either. However, today things seem to have evened up. Well, it's a mixed start for Asian indices, with the Nikkei, the Hang Seng and the SX 200 all lower, while the Shanghai and the Kospi are holding on to some amount of gains. When we look at the SGX Nifty as well, that's marginally higher in early trade today. So good cues coming out for India today. In terms of commodity prices, well, the Russia-Ukraine tensions, back to that, oil has been in focus, and that means oil, which breached $95.50 a barrel yesterday, has tapered downwards in early trade today. It's just below that $95 a barrel mark at the moment. And gold too has gone higher. Well, gold, of course, the risk averse, the asset for risk aversion, well, that is around that $1872 an ounce mark, and that means that as safe haven assets will be more in demand over the next few weeks in case tensions escalate further. When we look at how currencies have done, well, the dollar index has started the day lower. It's at 96.22 in early trade. Of course, comments from the Fed President James Bullard, the St. Louis President James Bullard, has pushed the 10-year yield to 1.99%. That was in trade yesterday. Well, today it's evened out, it's leveled off a bit, 2 bips lower. The treasury yields currently stand at 1.97% in early trade today. Well, cryptos rose too, along with gold, all alternative assets, and the Bitcoin is just below that $43,000 mark. Not much of a rise in Bitcoin, as volatile as it can get.